Shot in front of a live audience at Margarita Republic, it's Shots from the Bench. And now your hosts, Bob Wiltman and Bob Murphy.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Super Bowl edition of Shots from the Bench. It's only sports talk, and of course, all opinions are both fabulous and flawed. I'm Bob Wiltman. My partner is Bob Murphy, and Gregg behind the scenes, running the cameras and keeping the sanities and throwing in an insightful tidbit every once in a while. We're here at Margarita Republic in the beautiful Spanish Springs section of the Villages. Margarita Republic, where the food, fun, and fellowship are always seated first. We're here every Sunday from 2 to 3, so come on up, over, in and out. Come over and join us. Always a lot of spirited conversation. We got some good trivia, throw a lot of stuff to the customers, and we get a lot of stuff thrown back at us, and that's always great. But as you are aware, this is the only sports talk show in the Villages. And that being said, partner, Super Bowl. But just as exciting as that is the announcement of the Hall of Fame class for the NFL.
Absolutely.
Pretty exciting stuff.
A lot of stuff going on.
Take your pick. If you want to remind everybody about the picks that we've made so far, we can do that. But we can also jump right in on the Hall of Fame. What are you in the mood for?
Well, Super Bowl 50. I wish I could say we were here at Margarita Republic for our 50th
for all
time.
50, yeah.
But actually, it's our first time, so I think that's pretty good accomplishment.
Well, I'm just going to throw, just as a reminder, get the picks out of the way.
Yeah.
I say 31-20 Carolina, and you went with what?
I was 31-17 Carolina.
No, that just guarantees Denver's going to win the game.
That's what it is.
That's all that does.
My heart's rooting for Peyton. Okay?
So that's where we are.
I want Peyton to ride off in the sunset. I'm a realist.
I'm a realist, too. I'm rooting for Peyton, but I'm a realist also.
It's hard to go against that. We'll get to the game in a minute here. But we had so much going on this weekend with the Hall of Fame class and the award
and
NFL
the awards. That's right, the awards.
You know?
Let's talk about the Hall of Fame inductees first, and we'll cover the Players Awards. But a class of 8.
Yeah.
And I'll start out only because I worked for Eddie DeBartolo for 5 years up in Boardman, Ohio. And I'll give Ed DeBartolo Jr. credit. He was a maverick in the league. We were talking just like Steinbrenner. I was telling Gregg, when the strike was in 1987, Ed DeBartolo continued to pay his players. Yep. And when they were in 3 Super Bowls during that time, he paid for not only the players and the players' wives, but friends of the players to all take plane rides out to the Super Bowls, and that was another thing that did make him especially popular with his co-presidents or
He took care of his players in an unprecedented
players
kind
loved
of way.
him. Players loved him. I'm not sure about his
even
co-owners.
to this day, he takes care of them.
Oh, there's no question.
Yeah, he's a wonderful guy. Won 5 Super Bowls altogether.
Unbelievable, and you got it. So I give him credit, but like I said, he also did things his way and didn't pay much attention to the rules, and as a result, he ended up losing control of his team for a little bit because of some deal he did with Louisiana Downs with the governor of Louisiana. But bottom line is his sister took over the team, and now his nephew, Jeb York, who is the son of John York, Dr. John York, who's married to Maria Denise Bartolo, he is now the CEO, the chief executive officer of the San Francisco 49ers. But it's a lot of talk on Eddie, but he's a great players owner, but he wasn't, I think, everybody's box of chocolate for as far as the rest of the team, the rest of the league considered him. But that's Eddie.
Oh, sure. Of course, we had Brett Favre, the number one.
Brett Favre. Brett Favre.
11 Pro Bowls. He was a 3-time MVP. 3 in a row, by the way, which is quite an accomplishment.
That's major accomplished. 3 times in a row, the MVP of the league. Wow.
He's the all-time leading pass completion, total number of pass completions, most career victories.
I think that's fairly important.
I guess you could call him a winner.
That's important, yeah.
And then the most passing yards and the most touchdowns. Pretty good.
I'd say.
Of course, he's had some negatives too added to this, but like most interceptions, So
Babe Ruth struck out more than anybody.
He was
that's
the type of quarterback that took a lot of chances. That's why he was so successful. So, but
I think his
that was
record's
exciting
his
about
record's going to speak for itself, no question about it. And I think he actually set a record for most retirements. I think he came back twice from retiring,
Well,
so that's not bad.
When he came back with the Vikings was actually, he went to the Jets. Where else did he go to?
Jets and the Vikings, right?
The Vikings.
Yep.
He had a good year of the two there, leading him to the NFC Championship game, in 2009. That was a great game actually. And so, but hats off to Brett Favre. He won one Super Bowl.
Fantastic. And while we're staying on quarterbacks, let's talk about Kenny the Snake Stabler.
Oh, yeah.
If you'd have watched Kenny Stabler play, Kenny Stabler didn't have a great arm. Kenny Stabler wasn't very fast, but Kenny Stabler won. And you got to give him credit. We always had a good team around him. Didn't hurt to have Bolitnikoff and Casper and some of his offensive linemen. Didn't hurt him, but I know he's the late Kenny Stabler. He just passed, I think, in the last year or so. But Kenny Stabler was about as productive as a quarterback could be during his time in the league. And the Raiders were always the team you loved to hate, but they were good.
He was the 1974 most valuable player. That was his career year, pretty much.
He deserved it. I mean, he was a winner.
Yeah. We also had Marvin Harrison, the great wide receiver of the Colts.
Unbelievable.
Man, he had 1,102 receiving yards,
receptions. Holy mackerel!
And 14,580 yards of receiving yards. Unbelievable. He won five. Was it 5 Super Bowls? No, I'm sorry. He was in 1 Super Bowl.
Okay, yeah, because he was with the Colts his whole career, correct?
Right.
Yeah.
Tony Dungy, another inductee.
Yeah.
Tony Dungy was his coach.
Tony Dungy.
Mm-hmm. First black head coach to win a Super Bowl.
I didn't remember that, but I guess that makes all the sense in the world. But he's just, I just think Tony Dungy's what's good about people. I think he's a class individual. Mm-hmm. Never has anything bad to say about anybody, but like I said, obviously, he's made a career now in broadcasting. But he was, as a player, he was a backup player. He was a special teams player and a defensive back for the Steelers. Nothing special as a player.
Nothing special.
But boy, did he have
it's one of those guys
nice track record.
He's one of those guys that, as a backup player who watches a lot of the game, becomes a great coach. It seems like that's the case with a lot of great coaches.
He's just intelligent. He's just an intelligent guy too.
Right.
I mean, yeah. So that's tip your hat to Tony Dungy, because that just goes to show you a guy who was a marginal player, but knew the game and studied the game and applied it in his coaching techniques. Well, it's well deserved. I'm really happy for him.
Another guy, Orlando Pace, the great
big Orlando Pace,
offensive lineman for the Rams during their run.
He was a beast, no question about it.
Player he was.
No question about it.
Ohio State, big All-American, highly regarded. Made it to 7 Pro Bowls and won a Super Bowl.
I tell you what about Orlando Pace. He's one of those few guys that he lived up to the hype. Remember, everybody everybody was fighting over wanting to get him in the draft, and he came in and just dominated, and it never stopped. He never stopped.
Great guy too.
I never saw him interviewed, but I'll tell you what, he sure was well respected. Everybody that had something to say about him, all they did was talk about how he cleaned out everybody he blocked, and he was just a phenomenal player.
Another great player, the great linebacker. From the Steelers and the Rams, there, Kevin Green.
Kevin Green, yeah,
was I believe he still holds the record for most
sacks
by a linebacker.
I only watched
160 sacks.
I only watched him 1 year for Pittsburgh, but I'll tell you what, he was the prototypical quote unquote blitzing linebacker that could sack the quarterback. He actually set the standard. Once he, now everybody was, the blitzes were all formed around him, and he could get to the quarterback.
He was a 5-time Pro Bowler.
Yeah.
And was 1996 Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, I remember that. That was the year he played for Pittsburgh.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So that's another one off the list.
And the last one I'll talk about, just because I simply remember, is Dick Stanfield. Sure. Dick Stanfield was. I don't even know if he's still alive or not, but Dick Stanfield was in the early '60s. He was the prototypical great guard. I mean, he could he could do it all, and he was with some good teams. I believe he played for the Lions and the Bears.
And the Redskins.
Redskins, that's what it was. Thank you. But he was, I know naturally as a kid I didn't pay much attention to the offensive line, but I always knew when he was in the game because he was clearing the way for a lot of great runners when he was playing in those years. And
So this is a very deserving Hall of Fame class of 2016.
you'd think that 8 guys is a lot, but there's not one guy there that I don't think that doesn't deserve it. And there's some guys that didn't make it on the first round, but that's nothing. Sometimes you got to wait. I don't know if any of these guys were these guys all first timers.
I think Brett Favre was the first.
Favre was Favre definitely, but Green I think was waiting around forever, and maybe even Stabler. I think they've all been waiting a while. But
Marvin Harrison might have been a first ballot.
Okay, well, still fantastic. That's really a classy
Sure.
8. And also that takes care of the Hall of Famers. But how about the awards? They handed out the awards last night, and no big surprises.
They have a long list, that's for sure. We can get right into that.
Sure.
Okay, we had Rookie of the Year, Jameis Winston.
Jameis Winston, there you go.
Tampa Bay Bucks.
Local guy makes good.
He came on strong, didn't he?
Rookie of the Year. They
Started a little shaky beginning of the year and really poured it on late at night and became the. We had a little excitement.
That was Gregg setting fire to the building, but it's okay. The firemen will be here shortly.
I don't think it was a terrorist attack or anything.
That was Gregg's way of saying anything Jameis Winston deserved. Well, I disagree with you, Gregg. I think Jameis Winston did deserve that
I
award.
didn't like that. It's okay. Then we had the Defensive Player of the Year, J.J. Watt.
Who's going to argue with that? He's still the one guy in the league, I think, that dominates the game. Even when he wasn't, when they were in the playoffs, the other guys were making the plays because they were making sure that he wasn't disrupting things. And
17 and a half sacks, by the way.
not bad, and that's with that's being double teamed most of the time.
Yeah.
That's
true, too.
unbelievable.
Yep. And then we had, let's see, what else we had? Offensive Player of the Year, Cam Newton.
Cam Newton, what did he do this year?
I don't know, not too much, I guess.
Well,
35 touchdown passes and ran for 10 more. How's that?
Oh, yeah, but other than that, what did
That's
he
enough
do?
to get Offensive Rookie of the Year?
Well, I think we've been calling for that for the last 6 weeks, so that's certainly not a surprise. But Cam Newton, to me, was the player of the year, hands down.
Sure.
Hands down.
We had, we'll be getting to the MVP in a second.
Sure.
The Comeback Player of the Year, Eric Berry of the Kansas City Chiefs cornerback.
He was the guy diagnosed with
he had lymphoma.
lymphoma. I'll tell you, it was nip and tuck with him for a while, and for him to be able to come back and play and make and get to that level, and he was actually a big impact player this year.
Well, he made it to the Pro Bowl.
That's what I mean. That's if there's nobody more deserving than him on that list, there's no question about it.
Yeah, so that's hats off to him for what a great comeback that was. Also, we had the Offensive Rookie of the Year, which was Todd Gurley of the Rams.
Running back.
Adrian Peterson type of player.
What do you have, like 1,200 yards? I didn't.
It's 1,400.
1,400
close
yards.
to 1,400.
That's not bad for a rookie. I think that was a draft pick well chosen. That's impressive.
We also had the Defensive Rookie of the Year was Marcus Peters.
And that's Barry's
cornerback.
That's
his running mate.
His running mate in the secondary. That's why 2 reasons why the Chiefs are going to be around for a while and they're going to have a team to be reckoned with. That's
Absolutely.
fantastic.
The Offensive Rookie second place finisher, which was right there neck and neck with him, was Amari Cooper of the Raiders.
Another very
he's had all year.
productive. Probably didn't get any votes because they didn't have as good a year as you want.
Sure. And then they had, the Man of the Year. They give that to the guy who does a lot of good humanitarian things and just a great person, uses his ability to help the community. And that went to Antoine Bolden.
Antoine Bolden,
who was a tremendous help to his family, his city. Actually, I think it's in San Francisco area that he's from.
Well,
so hats off to him for job well done.
That's what players I think should be doing. And I think that to win that award because that's just I think that's such a huge feather in his cap. I'll tell you what, we've got a couple more awards to discuss. We're going to get into a few more things with football and the Super Bowl and also go in another direction. But first, we're going to be back with the second quarter right after this. All right, we're back with the second quarter of Shots from the Bench here at Margarita Republic in the beautiful Spanish Springs section of the Villages. Margarita Republic, where the food, fellowship, and fun are always seated first. And partner, we were talking about some of the records that they handed out, the awards last night at the NFL. There's a couple we still didn't get to. What other ones have we got here?
Well, we've got now I'm not quite sure about this one, what they mean by this, but
okay.
I guess it's I don't know, Fantasy Player of the Year.
I'm going to believe that that's the guy that did the best. He brought in the most points and the most potential cash for his fantasy owners.
Antonio Brown.
Antonio Brown, he scored points running, throwing, returning punts, and receiving. So that's probably how you rack it up.
Sometimes you do have a Player of the Year and an MVP in the same categories.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have a corporate name. Are they using, I don't know if the NFL is using their fantasy as a corporate name, but I think you're probably right.
I'm guessing I'm right, but I'm not sure about that. But it just seems to me that they have such a big fantasy following.
Well, what a year he had.
He had a spectacular year.
Unbelievable player.
But he's still not playing, and Cam is.
Right. And speaking of Cam, he is our 2000. I'm making the announcement now.
Yeah.
For the first time. No one else knows this.
I was going to say, it's going to be a surprise.
Cam Newton, MVP of the NFL. Surprise, surprise.
Well, if he hadn't lost that one game, I don't know how you could vote him in. Actually, he was just a phenomenal. And to me, that's as good as having a run in the table. I mean, They kept everybody healthy, which is why they're in the. That's why they're in the Super Bowl. I mean,
he's the most dangerous player. Can you imagine a quarterback, 260 pounds, that will throw those laser shots down the field and then run around left end or right end or up the middle.
He can move. He can throw. He can. Yeah, he set a whole new standard this year. So
a lot of the cornerbacks hit him. They bounce right off of him.
He's a big boy and he has fun.
Has
fun playing and until he I pray he doesn't, like a lot of guys. The more notoriety they get, the more they tend to shoot their mouth off. Please don't do that, Cam. I think he seems like a very pleasant, nice guy, and I hope he stays that way.
And, of course, Coach of the Year was his coach, Ron Rivera. Coach 15-1 to the Panthers. How can you argue with that?
Yeah, how can you give it to anybody else? I mean, that's ridiculous.
I think if you gave it to anybody else, there'd be an uproar, I guess, probably. So
that's right.
Those are your NFL honorees for this year and your Hall of Fame honorees as well. So, hey, listen, I want to ask you a few Super Bowl trivia questions.
Super Bowl trivia, I love it. Okay, what do we got?
Are you ready for me?
I'm ready.
All right. I want you to be ready now.
I couldn't be more ready.
You already rolled up your sleeves. All right. Okay, here's number one. Ready? Which team has the longest Super Bowl winning streak? Is it the 49ers, the Steelers, with the Patriots, or the Cowboys?
You mean the winning streak currently?
Yeah. Who has the longest winning streak in the Super Bowl? Which team has the longest winning streak?
But it's since Super Bowls began.
Right, Super Bowls.
I would say the longest winning streak would be the Steelers because they had 4 in a row.
Okay, that's a good guess. However, you would not be correct.
I would be. Who won?
It is the 49ers with 5.
They won 5 in a row.
Yes, they did.
Well, there you go. Shows you what I know.
Okay, but you were close though, so we'll keep you in the game here.
I got a B. I got a C+ on that one.
Okay. Which team went to the Super Bowl for 4 years in a row and lost every time?
That one I think everybody remembers. That was the Jimbo Kelly-led Buffalo Bills. Right. And who was their coach? Marv Levy.
That's right.
I remember that.
Yep.
That's an achievement. We were talking off camera. That's an achievement in itself.
Oh, absolutely.
They were one missed field goal away from being considered maybe the top team of all time because nobody's made it 4 times in a row to the Super Bowl except those guys, and they lost them all. All they needed to win one, just one.
Here's one. Which player has the longest span between Super Bowl wins?
Ooh,
he won it. He won it twice, and the players are Tom Brady, Brian Urlacher, Jack Haley, and Ray Lewis. Which player has the longest span between Super Bowl wins?
Between Super Bowl wins.
Right. Of those 4.
Gregg throwing out the Joe Namath is still waiting for a second one, but I would think that who was the second guy in that group that you gave me?
You had Brady, Urlacher, Haley, and Lewis. So
I'm trying to think of Urlacher won twice. I'm going to say Urlacher.
Okay. No.
I took a guess. I can't remember the Bears.
It was Ray Lewis.
Ray Lewis.
12 years in between the first, and imagine 12 years between his first and his second.
I can't. That's what I mean. I can't even remember that far back.
Yep.
That's depressing. But okay. Well, like I said, I just went from a C+ to a D-.
Which team had the largest margin of victory in the Super Bowl? Which team? Was it the 49ers, the Bears, the Seahawks, or the Cowboys?
49ers, the Bears, the Seahawks.
What was the largest margin of victory by a team? The winning team. Was it the 49ers, the Bears, the Seahawks, or the Cowboys?
I'm going to guess the 49ers because they had such an explosive offense.
You're gaining back some ground.
Oh,
here.
right. Back to a C+.
55-10. Beat Seattle.
They were an impressive
Cincinnati.
offensive bunch. That was.
Now, I know you know this one, but I'm going to throw it out there for the fans.
I love it. For the fans. You can't beat it.
Which team has the most Super Bowl wins? The Pats, the Steelers, the Broncos, the Cowboys.
The most Super Bowl wins.
One for you, being that you're a homie.
Since I'm from Pittsburgh, I'm going to bet it's the Steelers.
That's
Please
right.
be right. All right.
Back you're to a Steelers fan, you should
I'm
know
a Steeler fan. I should know that.
All right. Which team has the most Super Bowl losses?
I'm going to say the Broncos.
Well, okay.
No. Am I right?
Yeah, you're right. I didn't give you the list yet.
Oh, I didn't know I'm sorry. I didn't know. Hey, when I'm hot, I'm going to just come right through with them.
The Bills and the Vikings are the other in second place with 4 losses.
Wow.
Who has who? Okay, here's a cool one. Here's a cool one. The crowd would be interested.
Okay, for the crowd. Here's a.
Who was the first Super Bowl winning player to say, "I'm going to go to the Super Bowl"?
No, just Disney World.
Or yeah, I'm going to go to.
Who's the first Super Bowl player to say, "I'm going to go to Disney World"? Wait a minute.
We have an answer.
Get him out of here.
That's correct.
You're not allowed to sit. If you're going to sit here, you're going to get the answers wrong. No, that's what we
yelled
wanted.
It out. That's right.
Yeah, but he gets them all right. That's good.
That's right. First one to say, "I'm going to Disney World."
Very
Phil
good.
Simms.
Very, very good. Phil Simms is the correct answer.
Yeah. Which quarterback threw a record 5 interceptions in a Super Bowl?
Oh, that's a good question.
Was it Peyton Manning, Colin Kaepernick, Jim Kelly,
and who was it?
Rich Gannon?
Rich Gannon. This guy.
Rich Gannon again.
All right. I tell you what. Wait a minute. There's something. You fed him the answers.
He should be up here.
He yelled that out before you even asked the question.
We need him.
That's impressive.
Okay.
If anybody's going to have a trivia party for sports, you want to get this guy sitting here at the bar. He's getting everything right. That's great.
Which player has won the most Super Bowls? We haven't gotten to that one yet.
All right, this is multiple choice.
Which player has won the most?
Which player has won the most Super Bowls? I hope it's a multiple choice. Troy Aikman.
John Elway.
John Elway.
Charles Haley.
Charles Haley.
Tom Brady.
Tom Brady. We got a Tom Brady and a Charles Haley.
I'm asking you.
I'm going to say Charles Haley.
And they got 5.
I'm going to go with him.
Charles Haley.
Our guys, they're usually right too. He's allowed to miss one.
That's right. All right, here's one. How many Super Bowls have gone to overtime?
Oh, I know the answer to that one.
There's at least.
How many have gone to overtime? None.
He's right.
Is got to be the right, because that's something I think would jump out or stick out in your mind. A lot of them had great finishes, as we've said, but none of them have gone to overtime that I.
Oh, here's one that I hope can stump the guy over there.
We're stumping everybody with this. We're going to start digging deep.
Here's one. Who was the first African American head coach in the modern era to win a Super Bowl?
That's a good question.
I'm sorry, in the NFL, not to win a Super Bowl, but just to win a.
What was it? Tony Dungy. Did we say that before?
Yeah.
What I meant was,
who was the first African American coach in the NFL? Not a Super Bowl winner.
All right.
Not a Super Bowl winner.
Now we're gonna throw the real tricky ones. I'm bringing out the tough stuff.
Art Shell is correct.
Art Shell. Holy mackerel.
Now, there is a guy back in the 1920s who was, that's why I said the modern era, but there was a guy who was considered a head coach in the NFL in the 1920s, but it's a long, I forget his name offhand.
So we're not going to know
I'll
it
get that for
anyway.
you next week.
I love it.
Anyway, so a little Super Bowl trivia.
And I'll throw out the
going on
one
there.
that I think that's going to be tough, but it should. No, I have a feeling it won't be as tough as I think it is. But
Okay.
I like this. I want the only team never to be in a Super Bowl and whose city never hosted it. We got them thinking anyhow. What's that? Cleveland is right. Now, while you're on a roll, how about the other three teams that never made it to the Super Bowl, but whose cities did? 1, 2. Come on. You can't miss them all. And I think we can.
Okay.
And
What was the other one?
this isn't a trick, but it's actually it's a good question because I could say the Houston Texans or the Houston Oilers. What about the Oilers? You're right. It's Houston, but no, that's okay. We like it. We like
Okay, I
it.
got another one for you.
One more before we go to halftime.
We got a couple here. I don't know if I'll get them both in for this quarter, but
Something to muse about.
Cam Newton. There's two questions about Cam Newton. Cam Newton can become the third player to win a national championship and a Super Bowl championship. Who are the other two?
All right, something to think about.
Who are the other two?
We'll come back. We'll come back
for
to that. But that's a good one. I
There's
like that
another
one.
question. Cam Newton can also become the third Heisman winner
Okay.
to win the Heisman and the Super Bowl, and there's two others. And who are they? Two
So-
different than the other.
I'll tell you, muse on those, and we are going to come back. Gregg's going to tell us that we did clock management. We eschewed clock management like so many coaches in the NFL, but we will be back with the third quarter of Shots from the Bench right after this. We are back with the third quarter of Shots from the Bench here at Margarita Republic in the beautiful Spanish Springs section of the Village's Margarita Republic, where the food, fellowship, and fun are always seated first. And partner, you threw out a couple interesting trivia questions, and I want everybody to muse these questions. But just to reiterate the two we have on the floor, and then we're going to talk about the plays, the Super Bowl plays of the five best plays in the history of the Super Bowl.
Well, they're my five best.
Oh, that's okay. Well, you're allowed to have an opinion
But
on
not
it, to be sure.
everybody has their
But
opinion.
recap those trivia questions for us. These were
Okay.
two Cam Newtons.
This is for later, okay?
Yeah.
Two Cam Newton ones. Actually, there could be three, actually, but we'll get into two. We'll just stick with two. Okay, Cam Newton can become the third quarterback, to win a national championship and a Super Bowl championship.
Okay.
There's two players.
Two
he can
other
join,
players,
Two
okay.
quarterbacks that can join.
Okay.
And then he can also become the third Heisman Trophy winner to win a Super Bowl. Okay,
Well, yeah,
there's a
and
little
who-
difference there,
Yeah.
and
There's a big difference,
there's two
yeah.
different players in that category.
All
So
right.
that'll be for the fourth quarter to answer that.
Fantastic. Everybody can muse on those, and we'll
get to that
we'll
later.
uncover those. But in the meantime, I think this is interesting, being Super Bowl Sunday, that we talk about the greatest plays in Super Bowl history. And I know Bob's got a list of his
there's-
top five.
There's a lot of. There's 50-something plays that you
I
could
want-
get into,
I wanna hear
but
'em,
I'm not
though.
going to get into all those. I just picked five. My top five.
Let's hear them.
My top five of Super Bowl
Are you going to go
plays.
back? Are you going to start with five and go to the drum
Yeah.
roll to one?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Number five.
is 2009.
Okay.
It's going to be the Saints. The onside kick to start the second half.
Love it. You know what?
Sean Payton, the coach, pulled that off, and
I
it led
remember
to a
that.
score that just wound up winning against the Colts.
I remember that, and that's why I love any type of coach. It's
That was like we've never seen anything like
No,
that.
that's what,
level of a game in
Well,
that situation.
fantastic.
Ever.
That's a real good choice. I didn't even think about that. That's a great.
My
That's
number
a great
four
choice.
Number four
Number four.
is Pittsburgh's James Harrison's interception of Arizona Cardinals Kurt Warner.
That's major. It turned the whole game around.
We turned it 100 yards for a touchdown. The Steelers won that game. It wasn't the deciding play, but it was the game that really turned that game around.
Well, a couple things, too. First of all, if the Cardinals score that touchdown, they go up by 10 points, I believe. And as a result, they end up going into halftime being down because all they had to do was get Harrison and push him out of bounds because that was the last play of the half. And he somehow stumbled his way 100 yards all the way into the end zone, and the touchdown counted. And by golly, ended up being a 4-point Super Bowl. So made a big difference.
Sure. My number three.
Number three.
Giants David Tyree's helmet catch.
Fantastic catch.
With 59 seconds to go
it was
left in the Super Bowl to keep a drive alive.
Yeah, fourth down.
Caught it on his helmet.
And he went back on to beat.
And a come from behind win over the Patriots.
The undefeated, the Patriots that were going for a perfect season. Yep. I remember
that. Was my number three.
That's a great choice.
Can't ever forget that that
David Tyree. I almost forgot his name. I would have forgot his name.
We haven't heard much about him since.
No.
But maybe I don't know if he'll be in the Hall of Fame or not, but I think so.
I think he had to catch 50 passes.
I don't think he's in the league anymore.
Nice.
All right, number two. Okay, this one is a long-standing play. It was the Steelers, again, beating the Cowboys in one of the earlier Super Bowls, and Lynn Swann's acrobatic 53-yard catch where he leaped, tipped,
deflected the ball.
Eventually caught the ball on his back.
Yeah, I remember. I remember
that
too.
The greatest. They used to show that over and over and over on NFL replay for years and years and years. That's one that always sticks out in my mind.
Graceful receiver, no question about it.
And my number one
play in Super Bowl history
was last year. Was Seahawks losing at the goal line against the Patriots. They passed instead of ran the ball. Instead of running Marshawn Lynch, who ran and carried people all the way down, players all the way down the field, they throw the ball on the 1-2 yard line, and it gets intercepted.
We had this show was not going on at that time, but I'll tell you what,
that was the most my God!
I stared at my television and screen and just thought, what in the world just happened here?
Unbelievable.
Can you believe that?
Yep.
1 yard to go, and they throw the ball up the middle of the field where there's no room anyhow. I'm sure there's Pete Carroll fans out there, but I became not one after that play. Now, he's obviously brought the team back pretty well, but holy mackerel, I just don't. Marshawn Lynch was dragging people around that fourth quarter. Nobody could even tackle him.
Yeah. We could get, that was my number one. I mean, there's a lot of other ones. You mentioned Scott Norwood's miss of a field goal where the Bills could have won a Super Bowl. There's a lot more.
Yeah, there's no question. But no, I think that's a fantastic list. In fact, I think that list will stack up against anybody else's. That's because they're really all huge plays, and I'm glad you even brought up the onside kick because nobody ever seen that. That was cool.
Absolutely. For years, one of the iconic plays in Super Bowl history was Marcus Allen's 79-yard run around left end.
Sure.
At that time that was mentioned for years and years and years as one of the greatest plays of all time. Marcus Allen in their blowout, win of the Super Bowl. So that's some of my nostalgic plays of the Super Bowl history.
I think those are all fantastic, and I think they're super plays. And I can't think of one that I would add on top of it or even want to. Those are all pretty much, the more I think about it, it just happened last year, but now you've got me. Now you've blown my mind again talking about that play at the end of the Super Bowl last year. I had no dog in the fight, but I just couldn't believe what I watched. So.
There was actually one award we didn't mention.
What do you got?
That we came to. They had so many different awards. They had the top air and ground player of the year. Air and ground player.
Wow.
So Carson Palmer won the air player of the year.
Okay, I'm not sure what that is, but that's
good.
Good. That's all right.
This one kind of puzzled me a little bit.
In the air,
Now,
okay.
the ground player of the year was Adrian Peterson. I can see that. Yeah. Our producer
like
just
it.
said maybe that's produced by
Produced
UPS
by
and
FedEx
FedEx.
and FedEx.
That's
I like it.
I think it is.
That's
I
actually
think
not
it is.
bad. That's probably
the air and ground player of the year. That would make sense.
So Carson Palmer's the air player of the year. Okay, I have nothing against him winning that, but I guess they didn't want to give everything to Cam Newton, but it would have been pretty tough not to give that one to Cam as well.
So,
but one of the things I wanted to talk about, because as we were wrapping up yesterday, we're just going to get sidetracked for a second, but I want to talk about this because this is something that bugged me a little bit, is the new format in the All Star Games this year. And after we were done last week, we went home and watched the NFL and the NHL All Star Games. And I'll tell you what, they're going to have to come up with something different in the football, because I don't want to see somebody from the Kansas City Chiefs hurt another player from the Kansas City Chiefs in a stinking All-Star game. Well, obviously, watching the game, nobody was getting hit, and I'm sure they have a nice discussion before the game and say, let's do it. But let's face it, if you want to watch the best players, you want to see them play full. I want to see them play all out, full tilt.
It was like a flag football game.
It was a flag football game. It was like a little scrimmage, and you had a couple big names there, but that.
Even the commissioner was disappointed when he came out. He made a comment after the game how he was disappointed in what it looked like and what it looked like to the fans. It was horrible. I mean, it was like, how can you have players from both teams, like you said, on both either team, and then you got, it was better when they left it alone. It kept it. It was a Hawaii game where after the Super Bowl, not before the Super Bowl.
Right.
Had the best players in it, and had the NFC and the AFC.
Yeah.
All right. But now they're not even. You watch these guys; they're not even blocking each other. They're just standing up and walking along each other. And
it's just not worthwhile. And I did watch the NHL. The NHL was trying something a little different. I don't know.
Well, that was more exciting than this.
It was more exciting,
At least
but it still didn't thrill me. I mean, I actually don't mind watching their pre-game or. The day before, they're doing their skills competition, because it does show off how unbelievable they can skate, and unbelievably they can handle the puck and shoot the puck and turn on a dime and stuff. And their accuracy when they shoot, I find that to be phenomenal. So that to me is a lot of fun watching. But watching 3-on-3, why not play a hockey game? Put some defensemen in there. And but I guess they fall into the prey that everybody falls into now in American sports, is if there's not points being scored or goals being scored, it's just not any good.
You got into hockey here for a second, but I thought I was really down on it, and I'm still not 100% for it. But at least I thought it was a little cool how they did it by division. This division against that division. The winner played that division and that division. At least that did it that way, so you had someone to root for.
I agree. I agree with your analysis on that. I think that's really that I thought made it interesting. But the actual watching the players play, where they just kind of see if they can swoop in and shoot one on the goalie. I thought, well, I guess that's okay. But again, all of the sports, all of the All-Star games, with the exception of baseball, which I think is still got it right. Pure, it's a baseball game.
Right.
But all of these other the NBA playoff game where it's 100.
Well, the NBA, what they do is for the first 3 quarters they just play Mickey Mouse defense.
Yeah. They're not even.
And then they get into it in the fourth quarter to try who's
going
to win the game.
Who can win the game. Right. That's right. But it's absolutely. And I kind of like their skills competition too. I think it's kind of fun to watch the shooting.
That's next week's show.
Yeah, and that's right. We can we'll get
next
into
Sunday's
that. That's right.
NBA All Star Weekend.
Is that before or after us? I hope it's at night.
It's
probably
after us.
At night because
it's at 8 p.m. The actual game is 8 p.m. But you have Saturday night. You got the skills competition. Friday night the different rookie games and whatever.
I love it. Well, I'll tell you what. That's my rant on the All-Star games. But I'll tell you what. We have effectively wrapped up 3/4 of shots from the bench. We've got some other interesting things to talk about. We're going to go into a couple of those trivia questions and another rant or two, and we will be back with the 4th quarter right after this. We are back with the fourth quarter of Shots from the Bench here at Margarita Republic. And I'll tell you, partner, we've got a few other things on our plate that we got to take care of trivia-wise. But before we get into some of the other stuff, and let's bounce those trivia questions back off and see if anybody got the answers.
Okay, getting back to those trivia questions. We had Cam Newton. Okay, Cam Newton. He could become the third quarterback to win a national championship and a Super Bowl. Who were the other two? What's the answer? Anybody have an answer? We got a winner
already.
Surprise, surprise.
How did he get them right? He never gets them right.
And
okay, we're going with the next one.
Namath and Montana. Okay,
that's great.
Very good, very good.
And the
third, he could become the third Heisman Trophy winner to win the Super Bowl, a quarterback. And who is that other two? Okay. Staubach and Plunkett. Very good. Very good. We get Roger Staubach and Jim Plunkett.
I would have gotten none of those right. So it's always good to find somebody.
Let's catch him on one here.
All right, yeah, give him a good one.
One more. Cam Newton can also break a record, and he's very likely to in this game, of the most rushing yards by a quarterback in a Super Bowl.
I'm trying to remember if he was here last week. I think we hit this last week, but I hope he missed it.
Who was the guy and how many yards does he have to break?
Who holds the record for most rushing yards by quarterback in the Super Bowl?
Super Bowl game.
If you know this one,
this one.
Gregg's going to pick you up on your chair and I'll tell you what, believe it or not, we actually have to he has to think about this one. That's go ahead. You want to take a crack? All right. Well, you think about it.
We might have stumped him. Who knows?
I'm not going to buy that one. I think it's a sucker move. Anybody else got that? We threw this out last week, so if you're here last week, you're going to know. But this is, I think, a really great question.
I have to get him on something.
Is that a guess?
What do you say?
John Elway is not the right answer, but it was worth it. You have to take a crack at it.
Do you want us to tell you the answer?
Do you want us to? Okay, because this is a good one. I didn't get this either.
You want to go ahead and give it to him?
I'll tell you what, since he told me last week, and I know it's McNair. Steve McNair ran for 64 yards in a Super Bowl. That's a great question, and you could have knocked me over with a feather when he told me that last week.
So, I think 2 or 3 times this year, Cam Newton has run for 64 plus yards in a game. So he has a fairly good shot.
I think he has a better than average chance of breaking that.
Of course, the defense he's playing against is number 1 in the NFL.
Yeah, but he also think he's gonna. He runs some plays that are designed for him to run yards. I think that's a pretty good bet. We'll see next week how he works out.
Well, let's quickly get into this game.
Yeah.
That's coming up tonight. Just a little bit about it. We've been talking about all kinds of other stuff, but just a little bit about this game.
Okay.
We got the number 1 scoring offense in the Panthers against
number 1
defense in the Broncos.
What more do you want?
You can't ask for a better
matchup than that.
That's a wonderful matchup.
That's fine.
Now, the only question is, how good is the Panthers defense and how good is the Broncos offense? That's the question.
Well,
that's the question.
I think everybody pretty much thinks that as good as Denver's defense is, that
obviously they're good enough
Carolina's probably going to get every score I've heard predicted. I'm thinking high 20s, low 30s.
Now
so
I
can't see Denver scoring that much, but I've been wrong every time I've made a prediction, and I'm very proud of that record.
Well, you know what's weird? Both offenses have good wide receivers. I mean, Denarius Thomas for the Broncos and Ted Ginn Jr. for the Panthers, but they're both very capable of dropping passes. They were close to the top in the league and dropped passes.
And they're still 16
and they're still, but they were also one of the best receivers in the league too.
Yeah.
So they get a lot thrown their way. I don't know. It's such an interesting.
I'm still
not. The Panthers have so much speed on defense. You know, they could crush you, or they can. I think that the reason they gave up some points to teams is they lost their focus. But when they're focused, they're as good as Denver's defense.
Well, when you get a big lead, it's easy to lose your focus.
When you get a big lead,
and they had big leads.
Seattle 31-0.
Jumping up, big leads on people.
And then they just took their eye off the ball. And they did it a couple other times.
I'm going to make myself look stupid, but I do this all the time anyhow. But I'm just not still convinced that Peyton is got the arm strength and the mobility to put that many points up on the board. I mean, they got 23 last week, or
Right.
yeah, when they beat the Steelers.
Here's the thing that scares me about Panthers defense against Peyton Manning. They say that speed creates turnovers. And they've got the fastest team, the fastest defense to the ball in the NFL. Even though Denver has the best defense, they are the fastest defense in the NFL.
I agree with that.
And they get to the ball. They create. Whenever they get to the ball, whenever you make a completion, they're right there on you, stripping the ball. They're right there, And so that's what why I fear that defense. And if you fear that defense and the offense, that's why we pick them.
As Herm Edwards would say, that's why they play the game. So we'll see what happens. But real quickly, because we haven't touched on it yet, how about a quick rundown of the NBA for us, Coach?
Oh, sure. Well, no surprise, the Warriors are on a record pace right now. Record pace. They're 46 in the Western Conference, 46 and 4.
46 and 4.
How's that? They have a 3.5 game. How would you like to be the Spurs at 43 and 8 and be 3.5 games back? How's that?
43 and 8 just isn't getting it done in that division.
I mean, you can go further. How would you like to be the Thunder at 38 and 14? Now, years ago, that was you're having a great season. And you're 9 games back.
They're third place.
9 games back.
2 teams beating you, not just one. That's amazing.
So the Western Conference, you got the Warriors, of course, the Spurs, the Thunder, as I mentioned. The 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 are the Clippers, Grizzlies, Mavs, Rockets, and Jazz, pretty much staying in the same places. But a team that's on the rise in the Western Conference, when you start getting out of the playoff, they're moving up, trying to get into the playoff
into
spot,
the playoff
into
picture.
the 8th spot, is the Trailblazers.
Oh, are they making see? I pay no attention to Portland.
Their backcourt.
They're on too late for me to stay
right.
up.
That's right. Their backcourt of Damian Lillard and C.J. McConnell is becoming one of the top backcourts in the West. And they're 25 and 27, but they were way worse than this. They have really stuck their foot to the pedal a little bit here in the last month.
Wow.
And really playing good basketball. I could see them moving into the 7th. Or the 8th or 7th spot, the way they're playing, but we'll see.
Well, hey.
In the Eastern Conference, of course, the Cavaliers at 36 and 14.
So have they lost for their new coach? Have they lost? It sounds like they've lost a game or two.
No,
not for the new one?
I think they're 5 and 3.
Oh,
Something
really?
Like that. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
They're 5 and 3.
Well, that's not as good as their other coach.
Which wasn't getting it done under David Black, by the way.
No, I guess not.
That wasn't good enough.
Yeah, 40 and 10 or whatever they were.
The Raptors are hanging on their heels at 2 games back of the Eastern Conference.
They are a good team. Keep your eye on Toronto,
with
boy.
That backcourt of DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry.
Wow.
Again, it seems like these backcourts teams are really doing well. Even the Warriors with Curry and Klay Thompson, in their backcourt.
A lot of talent. A lot of talent.
The Hawks, then it falls off. The Hawks at 7 games back, the Celtics 7. The Celtics have moved up into the 4th spot. They're playing really well right now.
Really? Is that right?
Yep.
I never would have guessed that.
It's more of a team game with them. Their second unit is pretty much as good as their first unit. There's no real stars other than Isaiah Thomas on the first unit, but then you get your second unit coming in, and they're playing really, very well. And then the Heat, the Bulls, the Pacers, and the Pistons. 2 playoff teams that were in the playoffs last year, the Hornets and the Wizards, are outside looking in right now and really not making a big push. I said a couple of weeks ago I thought the Wizard would make a push.
Yeah.
And they haven't.
They've fallen off, really?
Right. And so that's pretty much what's going on. Last night was the biggest game of the week, by the way.
What was that?
Was the Warriors at home. They won their 41st straight home game, 41 games in a row. At home.
I don't think I'd want
OKC
to. I want to play them in San Francisco.
It was a close game all the way through. They won 116-108. And how about this? Kevin Durant gets 40 points, right? And Russell Russell Westbrook gets 27, and you still wind up losing.
67
by 8
points for two guys, and you still don't win.
Curry had 26,
I was gonna say,
but the rest of his team was more balanced.
Well,
they had more balance on
that's
their
why
team.
that team's so good. I mean,
Yep.
Curry's phenomenal. I agree, but they've got some supporting players there that are just.
So that was the game. So the Warriors have taken on all the major threats. You know, they beat the Spurs bad. They beat the Cavs. Last night they beat the Thunder. You know, and this is all in the last 2 weeks. You know, so they have definitely proved themselves as the team by far to beat. So it's going to be hard to see anybody beat them, actually.
And they're going into an All-Star break next week. Is that what you said?
All-Star break. We only have a short week this week. You know, we have a 3-4 day week of play, and then they're off for about a week, including their All-Star weekend.
Oh.
So it's going to be great. Oh, here's something I wanted to mention.
What's that?
The commissioner of the NBA is getting fed up with the hack-a-shack stuff that's going on, you know, like DeAndre Jordan.
How are you going to stop it?
You know, it's been going on forever, right?
What's he coming up with? Oh,
okay. Well, one of the, you know, they say it's not part of the game, but it's been part of the game for ever since
It's been a part of the game.
Look, Shaq was in the
Don't
early 90s.
Don't you foul guys that can't make free throws? That's what I would do. I don't care if they're 7'2" or 5'10". If they can't make a free throw.
One of the things they want to do is they want to start, you know, there's a hash mark that you can't, like, they're fouling guys in the backcourt, you know, big guys in the backcourt,
all right,
you know, to stop the clock and everything.
Okay.
Well, they're going to try to make a rule. They're talking about this. I don't know whether this is good or not. I haven't given it that much thought. But they want to make it so that the last hash mark up near kind of almost even with the top of the key.
Yeah.
That you can't foul a big man or anyone, a big man like that, until he gets past that hash mark. So I don't know what that's going to do.
Well, I can't
take some time off the clock, I guess.
That's going to be amazing. We'll have to see where
but
that
that's the
takes
big
us.
thing that they're worried about. They want to stop this. You know, they're talking about this on all the national shows and everything. They want to stop the hack-a-shack foul, the intentional foul. So I think it's ridiculous. It's been part of the game, so why not?
Well, so
take him out of the game.
That's gonna hurt attendance
Let
when
the
they
coach take the guy out of the game.
Kill the hack-a-shack. I'll tell you what, folks, this went by faster than I imagined. Of course, it is Super Bowl Sunday, so please come join us again next Sunday, 2 to 3, here at Margarita Republic. And we'll recap the Super Bowl and talk about all the predictions that went bad. And we'll be back to see everybody with another edition of Shots from the Bench. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Yeah. I like it.